This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Learn more at slashandcast.net.
Hello, you. Yes, you. The one I'm looking at right now. You like scary movies? Well, if you do, you're in the right place. You've joined the Dead in Santa Carla podcast with Brian and Andy. Shouldn't that be undead in Santa Carla? Well, Brian and Andy are just a couple lost boys, aren't they? Or they will be when I'm through. Enjoy the show while you can.
Welcome to Dead in Santa Carla, part of the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. I'm Brian.
Fuck yeah, you are. And I am Andy. What's going on, dude?
Nothing. We've got a guest.
It's
our
do.
Bonus episode. Andy, do you want to introduce our guest?
Sure. Yeah, she's a good friend of show. Melissa Hannon, who is the owner and editor-in-chief for Horror Geek Life. Better known as Horror Geek Mel, as I like to call her. And, Mel, welcome in, friend.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on the show.
We're excited to have you. This was kind of a long time coming. We've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a while now, actually, and I think this is the perfect episode.
I agree.
A great episode. This was Andy's idea for this discussion. I think it's an important discussion.
Yes.
Andy, do you want to elaborate on this?
We're going to be talking about gatekeeping in horror. It's a problem that definitely runs rampant within the horror community, outside the horror community. It's something I feel that's been going on not just recently, but I mean for decades, if we're really being truly honest. So I think it's an interesting topic, and also I'm here to also maybe educate myself a little better on the subject as well. Here's what I want to do too. Actually, let's look up the actual definition of gatekeeping.
That's a good idea.
So we know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
there's no confusion. Gatekeeping,
none.
Right. The activity of controlling and usually limiting general access to something. So I take that as, let's put a box over that, and it's only that, and we're going to set it to the side. Is that accurate, or am I alone here?
That's accurate. And the statement, you can't be a blank fan if
right ...
Sure
hate that.
Yeah.
Listen, if you haven't seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, you don't know horror, bro. Kind of like that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we've all seen those tweets, because let's face it, that's where we're at in this day and age. It's 2021, right? I haven't missed a year or haven't gained one on accident somehow. But you and I and Mel, we spend a lot of time on Twitter. So that's where that's where I see a lot of shit. And I see that general statement tweeted on the daily, it seems, especially now that we're doing this podcast, because now all I follow is horror shit,
Yeah.
So I'm constantly seeing, this person liked this person replied to this or whatever, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen somebody tell somebody that since they didn't see movie A, they aren't a true horror fan. And that irritates the living shit out of me, because not everybody's journey to becoming a horror fan has been the same way. Nobody's taken the same path through that, whether it be through a generational thing. I'm 40. Golly, I'm going to be 44 years old this year. Wow. I don't like saying that out loud very much, but I am going to be. And my journey to becoming a horror fan is definitely going to be different than 22-year-old Joe Smith or Jane Doe that lives 3 states away that I've never met in my entire life. So I would be a dick, in my opinion, if I was to tweet them at them to say something as ridiculous as, you can't be a horror fan if you've never seen movie X. What kind of I can't even wrap my mind around the thought process that goes into saying something like that to somebody.
You kind of hit on something there when you said not everyone's journey is the same. Right. I grew up in a town of 5,000, people, and out in nowhere, Texas. Mm-hmm. And I was never introduced to something like Italian horror, until I was an adult. I mean, there are so many 70s, especially foreign horror, that I just never saw until I was an adult and I could, get it on my own. I couldn't go down to the mom and pop shop and, and get Suspiria and things like that. So that's something I didn't see until as an adult. But if someone tried to tell me, well, you're not a horror fan because you didn't see that until you were almost 30. I mean, Andy, you know me, you know what I would say to them.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, but yeah, it's just, it has to do with access. And also it has to do with taste. I mean, some people are just not into certain aspects of horror, and
absolutely,
maybe they're not into something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Italian horror or whatever, and I don't know why someone has to think they can prosecute someone for that. It's silly.
It seems so strange.
It's always been bizarre to me because, like, there's ways to go about it. Like, if someone says, like, I've never seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they're a horror fan, I know they're a horror fan, what I'm going to tell them is, you know what? I think that's one movie that you should watch, but if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. I mean, I feel like it's a movie that, or like certain movies like that, I feel there's ways to go about that other than saying you're not a horror fan if you don't watch that. No, you can say what I just said, like, I think if you're a horror fan that you might like it and you might enjoy it, so give it a go. I just don't know why everyone has to, like, it's almost like this big dick measurement that people are trying to do. It's like, what are we doing here? We're sitting here. If you're on Twitter and you're part of the horror community, you're on there to talk movies, talk films, talk stuff like that. Why do we have to do all this dick measuring? That's all for me. I feel like some of these people, that's all it is. It's just a notch in their fucking belt.
It's people flexing.
Yeah, it's strange flex, bro.
Yeah, very weird.
Weird flex, bro. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a fascinating topic because I feel like I see it literally every day when I flip over from my personal Twitter account to the Dead in Santa Carla Twitter account. Follow us at Dead in SC Podcast. Shameless plug. I would, I just see it every day. And there's some days where I go over, it's like, oh, that's why I haven't been over there at all today, because I just don't want to see that shit. It's people going back and forth, bickering about this, bickering about that, and telling someone how they should feel about a movie, or they're idiots for not liking a movie. I don't know. I see people, the horror community is very strange to me. And actually, Mel, you run a horror publication website, Horror Geek Life. Tell us a little bit about that before we get a little deeper into this, because I have some questions. Because honestly, that's part of the reason I wanted to have you for this episode, is because of Horror Geek Life and all that.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All the shameless plugs, please.
Yes.
I started writing for horror publications about, 6 years now, I think. And I was writing for 4 different publications, just as a freelancer, kind of bouncing all over the place. And I really wanted to do more, though. I wanted to also write about comics. I wanted to write about sci-fi more. I wanted to write about gaming. I'm a big gamer, but not just horror. I wanted to write about everything that I geek out about. So I literally put publication together to marry horror and geek, because there's a lot of crossover.
Absolutely.
So that's what we did. And I figured, starting out about 4 years ago, I figured it would be like my mom and, like 10 people I know on Facebook checking in. And then we just kind of got more and more, and then it exploded. And I now have an amazing team. We're all over the country. I'm based in Dallas, but we're all over the country. We have 2 UK representations. We have
fantastic.
Canada. We have 2 in Canada.
Awesome.
And I mean, just the most amazing team that I've ever had collectively that I've ever worked with. So most of them are seasoned, that work with other publications. And then a couple are new, and they just, hit it out of the ballpark. So yeah, so this is what I do now. And we just put those topics together and just geek out about, what we want to talk about.
I love it. That's awesome.
Thank you. It's my baby.
She's proud of her baby. You're doing great work over there. So we'll put all those links in the description, and you guys definitely check out the website of Horror Geek Life. And her and her team do great work over there. What do you guys feel outside of just the obvious? Because there was that person on Twitter, and actually you just brought it up before we started. There was I don't want to say their name, but there was a person on Twitter from a pretty major publication that was talking about how horror movies can't take place in space because it's technically sci-fi. See, that's another thing. Like I don't like that either, because a movie can be whatever you want it to fucking be. All right, horror can be whatever you want it to be. I use this all the time. I use this analogy with Brian recently, and it's so true. I feel like horror years ago, maybe going back to the 70s, I don't know, I'm guessing, I wasn't around then. I wasn't born until 81. But I feel like decades ago, everyday movie goers, parents per se, film critics, kind of labeled horror, not kind of, they did, labeled horror as trash, blood and guts, blood and gore, and that's all it was. And they just placed that label, they put a box over it, labeled it that, and set it to the side. And that's kind of the reputation horror has always kind of had, like the stigma. And meanwhile, you watch the original, back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. When people, if you've never seen that movie and you hear that title, you're going to be thinking blood, gore, galore. Meanwhile, the truth and reality is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has less blood and gore than like a movie like Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller. It does.
Mm-hmm. It's so true.
How many people died from a chainsaw?
That's what so when people, and I feel like, and I promise you guys this, like that's a perfect example. There's lots and lots of people that have never seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and never will. I'm talking like, average day moviegoers, not necessarily horror fans, but your average moviegoer. They're never going to watch it because just by the title alone and the stigma of the genre alone, they just think it's this big gore fest, and it couldn't be. Meanwhile, it's a horror masterpiece, for God's sakes. I don't know. What are some other things within the genre that you guys kind of notice?
Well, I think that, your Twitter, your official Twitter, you'll do a lot of quizzes and polls and things like that.
Pick them and stuff.
I think if you were to do a poll that asked women how many times they've been asked by a man to prove that they're a horror fan.
Oh, Lord.
I think you would get, I have actually been messaged more times than I would ever like to admit, especially because I used to be an admin in horror groups on Facebook, which I will never do again, ever.
Oh Lord.
But
those poor souls.
It was awful. So
Toxic.
but I've also had it in recent times, on Twitter, people asking me, well, if you're a horror fan, well, what about this or that? And asking me questions. And I'm thinking, are you serious? And I know it has to happen to other women that you get asked questions we have to prove ourselves, because they want to say, oh, you're not really into horror. You're just trying to get attention from liking horror or something. I don't know, but
wow,
it's a whole thing, and it's really annoying. So yeah, and I've been asked, well, how are you a horror fan? I'm like, here's my publication. Just go. I have 1,000 articles on the topic. Like, I don't know what else to do.
Andy, why are we the way we are?
I don't know.
That's actually how I met Andy. It was him.
Yes,
no,
it was. I said, listen, woman, man. You say you like horror, then you better prove it. Prove it you like horror. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I even saw it the other day. A woman on Twitter just 2 days ago. She hasn't seen some 70s movies, and a guy said, okay, you don't even like horror then. I'm just like,
maybe some people just don't like watching older movies.
Or they haven't, they haven't gotten around to it. I mean, God, how many freaking horror movies are there that, you have to get around to? There's even some classics I've never seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've talked to a couple of people that are younger at my job, and they're big horror fans. And so I tell them, I was like, oh, hey, check out my podcast, blah, blah, blah. And then they get back to me and they're like, oh, I watched Texas Chainsaw because of episode 1. And they had never seen it before, and that's just going to happen,
Yes.
We're talking about a movie that's 47 years old.
That's pretty old.
So, I mean, your average 22-year-old person that's just kind of, or that might just be getting into horror, they probably ain't seen that yet, and they might get around to it. They may not. They may look at the trailer and be like, I don't know, that just don't look like my scene, man.
No.
And that's fine.
They have to. They have to, so they can see the magic that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. They have to get to that.
Yeah.
My favorite horror love story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else, I tell you.
It really is. And, and again, it's just, I like growing up, I remember watching Jason Goes to Hell on like TNT all the time. And that was the first Friday 13th movie I'd ever seen.
Sure.
And so I went from Jason Goes to Hell, and I'd seen it over and over and over again. I loved it. We didn't have Google back then. I'm really old. So we didn't have Google back then. I didn't have Wikipedia. And I didn't see the first one until I was, I think, 18 or 19.
Sure.
I could not connect the two movies together. I had no idea how this worked.
No. Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, I need to watch this franchise. And I didn't watch the entire Friday 13th franchise until, I was an adult, because I just didn't have access to it. But I had Jason Goes to Hell. So there's that. I had the heart eating and possession. And then I go to the first one, and Jason's not even in it except for Ari, which I know y'all just talked to him. And but I was like, I don't get it. What's up with these movies? I don't know.
That franchise is taking some turns.
Yeah, that is wild. That is kind of funny that someone being introduced to the franchise with that installment. That's so
that would be interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Because I think one of my biggest complaints of Jason Goes to Hell is that it just it just separates itself from the franchise way too much for me. And
it's
the original.
It's a huge deviation from what was established.
Yeah,
so,
it's a huge leap.
Our very first exclusive on Horror Geek Life that just went viral, like every single website on the globe picked this up, and it was amazing, was that we interviewed Adam at a convention, and he told us, he said, number one, Jason is a Deadite in the films, and number two, my movie is canon. So I put that out there as an exclusive, saying, hey, Adam Marcus says that he is the Deadite and it's canon. Oh my God. And apparently he got hate mail for months.
I'm sure he did.
It just blew up. And so now it's just kind of funny that was.
I didn't put a return address when I said no.
Right.
I'm kidding. I kid. Yeah, I just see it so much. I wish, I swear it's almost, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where, for the most part, I know you're a Rotten Tomato critic, and it's obviously not all critics, but back in the day, a good, very large portion of critics did not like horror. Siskel and Ebert did not like horror.
Particularly Siskel.
Yeah,
right?
particularly. Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like that stigma has just stuck with horror all these years later, and it's almost made the community feel like outcasts and weirdos or stuff like that, where people are almost kind of just too like protective of how they feel about certain things, and instead of just like a rational human being talking about things and maybe expanding the genre and helping it grow. Because here's what I'm getting at. I feel like this stigma that has always been stuck to horror has conditioned its community to kind of embrace that in an essence. But in my opinion, that keeps the genre from moving forward and growing for years to come. A lot of these major horror publications, whether that's Fangoria, Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central, and I'm not telling anyone how to, and this is kind of where I wanted you to come in too, Melissa, because you're in that realm. I don't know if a lot of these publications are adapting with the times enough. And to me, and what I mean by that is digital media. Do you know all three of those major horror publications I just named do not have a Twitch channel? That blows my mind.
Okay, so Dread Central, I know that so I had met with them at South by Southwest a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I know Josh, who runs it now. And back then, though, it was Jonathan Barkin had ran it back then, but then he stepped down, and now it's Josh. I've known Josh for I don't know how many years, but he tried to talk to me about coming on to Dread to write about gaming, because they are going into the gaming realm, but they split it off from Dread. And I think that it's like Dread XP. I did turn the position down, by the way, but I think that Dread XP does have one, but I feel like splitting up your viewers is never a good thing, or your readership is never a good thing. So I don't know how it's taken off now.
And I Googled, I looked this up. I couldn't find Dread Central.
They might have shut it down too. I don't know.
It's possible. I'll tell you this, I don't know if, here's an example. We have just barely over 100 subscribers on our YouTube. I was looking, I think Dread has, 50K, something like that. And they do some live discussions, and I've watched some of them. They're very entertaining. I remember Jerry Smith did a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 reunion, which was hella cool. It was so much fun. And I've watched a handful of them, but I'm looking I don't know what's going on there. And I'm not, and guys, anyone listen, I'm not trying to beat up Dread Center. I'm not. I love the publication. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to make a point here.
Josh can take it. He's fine.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make a point here. Their views don't get much, probably double what our videos do. And they have 50,000 times the subscribers on YouTube. How can that be?
It's weird.
Now here's my other, before you guys answer that, how can that be? Why isn't the horror community watching? That is my question. It's almost like, again, the horror community sometimes feels to me just a bunch of individuals doing their own thing, whether that's a consumer or publications or whatever. It's so bizarre because they try to paint this picture that the horror community is this loving, we're all here for each other, fuck everybody else. I'm sorry. That's all fucking bullshit. It's all bullshit.
I think the weird thing about that kind of mentality, I had actually tweeted about this. I did a thread tweet about this about a year and a half ago, and then I deleted it all because I didn't want to have the conversation with anybody. But I also think that's just dumb. I mean, because honestly, we are all doing our own thing. We're all living our own life. We all have our own, likes and dislikes and whatever. And yes, it's really cool to connect with fellow fans and you get along and, and you kind of have your bubble, I guess, or
yes,
whatever you want to call it. But as far as a community, I mean, that's how many people like horror movies that aren't even on Twitter or,
right.
I mean, because horror, we're talking about gatekeeping. Horror goes from, women who want to go out for a girls' night and watch a scary movie with some margaritas, at Alamo, all the way to with someone like us who, we're like, hey, we're going to start publications and podcasts because we're crazy. So,
yeah.
And everything in between. I mean, they're not part of a community that I would be in and vice versa.
Sure.
I guess. I mean, like, it's kind of weird, but then I don't know. I don't really understand the whole horror community. I don't think it's a thing. We've seen that time and time again.
Yeah.
So it really kind of broke down when the whole canceled Joe Bob thing happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's when everybody went, wait a minute, we're not a community. We're not a loving community. Yes. And everyone's like, cancel Joe Bob Briggs, which who the fuck is going to cancel Joe Bob Briggs? And then everyone else was like, no, we love him. And then everybody just collided and it's been a mess since.
Yeah. So, that happened recently. I was reading all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a mess.
It was such a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows in the horror world.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it, buddy?
To be honest, there's a lot of people that are horror fans that I would never want in my bubble or in my community.
Yeah, that's very fair.
And they might not want me either, so it's okay. But I mean, I have figured out over the years, I mean, if you looked at my block list, you would know there's a lot of people I would rather not have in my community. So
yeah. So
yeah.
I guess that this is another area of gatekeeping that maybe I'm wrong for feeling this way, but okay, let's just take Bloody Disgusting, for instance. They, everyone, if you're into horror, you know who Bloody Disgusting is. They do great work. They really do. John Squires is a great dude. We followed him on Twitter for years, and I agree with a lot of things outside of horror with him. So I connect with him on that way. He's a great dude. But I can't help but wonder if here's another, and again, I'm not trying to flex everyone's YouTube scores. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But this is another example. So Bloody Disgusting, I think, has 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. Okay. We're part of the Slash and Cast podcast network, Slash and Cast. Nick and Riley do great work over there. Now, their main thing is YouTube, and I get that. That's their main thing that they do for their channel. But how does Slash and again, I love Nick and Riley, but they'll be the first to admit they're nowhere near, their brand is nowhere near the size of a Bloody Disgusting. How does Slash and Cast have more YouTube subscribers than Bloody Disgusting? I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like, and this is what I want to ask you guys, am I wrong for thinking this or feeling this? In an essence, are some of, and this is a good question for you, Mel, are some of these horror publications gatekeeping their own material and gatekeeping potential horror content creators by not expanding and building upon digital media?
I'm not sure. I personally feel like I know with my own publication, there's 10,000 different things I want to do, but I just don't have the, and Bloody Disgusting, they're the OG. I mean, they're the original. They've been there forever. They have built it up. And, and with, I kind of feel like horror, as you said, we're kind of, half of us still collect VHS.
Yeah.
We're kind of dinosaurs. Whenever you look at any, the biggest horror publication, which would be Bloody, and then you look at, let's say, IGN, there is no comparison. And maybe, and I think it is with the fans, because IGN, their fans, their readership is a lot more go, 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 fast, fast, fast. You've got to have it in your face, flickering lights all the time. And it's not the same for what we do, I guess. But
sure.
But I don't know. I've never really looked at the YouTube, and please don't look at our YouTube. So bad.
Well, What made me
do not
what made me think about it was
look at our Facebook instead, not YouTube.
What really made me think about it was, guys, we've been in COVID for a year, and I think digital media I think people realized how valuable digital media is in this past year, whether that's podcast, streams, YouTubers, whatever, all that pretty much content creation of all digital media. I just wonder if it's time that we stop like holding that all back and kind of adapt with the times. It'd be good for I think it'd be good for horror. Two, I think it'd be good for these publications if shit even took off even more. And three, it'd be good for horror content creators who could get work out of it. So I don't know. When I saw it again, it doesn't matter. But to me, it is. I'm sorry, Brian. Brian, do you think it's strange? Do you think it's strange that Slash and Cast has more YouTube subscribers than Bloody Disgust? Do you think that's strange?
I think it's.
You think that's bizarre?
I wouldn't have expected that, but when I think about it, I don't think it's strange, but it's surprising.
Yes.
Initially, and the reason it's surprising initially is because we know that Bloody Disgusting is the OG
absolutely
horror news media outlet. But when I think about it, it makes sense because Slash and Cast, Riley and Nick, that's where they started.
Yes.
And Bloody Disgusting didn't start there.
That makes sense. That's a good point.
So they started with YouTube and they built that foundation.
Yes.
And that's where they've built it from, and they built it up. So but initially, that surprises the shit out of me. It makes me wish that Bloody Disgusting did more stuff on YouTube. I mean, it really does, because I would watch that. I would definitely watch that.
Or if they had a Twitch stream,
if they had a Twitch stream, I would
Twitch
watch
channel
that too.
I don't know. I mean, but again, like I said, you look at Dread Central's some of their views of their podcast shows on YouTube. For whatever reason, horror fans, not a lot of horror fans are watching. And again, it's not a shot against Dread. No one's watching this show on YouTube either. The ones that are watching, thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. You rock.
Are you familiar with Crypt TV?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So back in the day, I was a member of Crypt TV. They called, actually, Josh, who does Dread, he actually was doing the some membership, and it was ran by Eli Roth and his business partner. Mm-hmm. And so Josh called me. He was like, hey, we want to recruit you into this Crypt TV umbrella. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. So I got in, I was like member of the month and whatever. And they did this with a lot of different horror publications, but they also do a lot of short videos by content creators. So if you look at theirs, I mean, they get 1 million views for a short, 3 minute video that a horror creator. Now, here's the thing though.
Yeah.
So they had all of these websites plugged in, and not just websites, but also individual people from these websites, from Dread and Bloody and myself and across the board. It failed. That part of it. So all of a sudden everyone got this notification because everybody just kind of went, okay, we're in this umbrella, but what do we do? Like as okay, we'll cover a video, but like, what do we do? And nobody really knew what to do with that much, I don't know, power or creative minds. I don't know. Yeah. So we got an email saying, okay, well, this is no longer, we're going to keep making films, we're publishing films. And a lot of filmmakers have, really gotten out there from it, but they cut off the part where they had publications come in. And I mean, I don't know. It just kind of feels like everyone does their own thing with a little bit of cross collaboration.
Sure.
But now, I do feel like we're kind of in the past with things. So
a little bit. And it failed. Why do you think it failed?
Few reasons. I guess on the podcast publicly, the reasons I would say is
I obviously, yeah. I feel you.
We'll talk about the rest later.
Yeah.
No, I feel like it failed because people didn't want to work together as much as they claimed they wanted to work together. So, you have all these publications saying, hey, let's work together. Let's do this and that. But it doesn't,
And you're spinning this right where I'm going with this. That comes back to okay, look, I've been doing content creation for a handful of years now. I've streamed over 3,500 hours on Twitch. I mean, that's a lot in about 3 year span. That's a lot. I just recently launched another podcast in the middle of March, completely outside of horror. It's about the Cleveland Browns. It's a football podcast. So now I've done 3 endeavors that are all under the content creation umbrella. So I've got Twitch, the horror podcast, and the football podcast. The Twitch streaming, so welcoming. Other streamers, viewers, it felt like a team effort. It felt like I was wanted or welcomed, I guess is more the better term. And then I just launched this Browns podcast, and it has been incredible at how welcoming, not only from the viewers, but my peers as well. Because I know it sounds crazy, but there's probably 100 Cleveland Browns podcasts. I wish I was lying. There's not. I'm not.
It's probably more than that, bro.
Yeah, probably more than that. And it has been overwhelming how welcoming from the audience and peers I have been. When Brian and I started this podcast in October of 2019, how do I put this?
Just tell them we had 14 plays our first week.
Okay, it's not even just that, but it's not even just that. It's if someone gets offended for me feeling this way and they want to spin it some way, then that's fine. But I can just tell you this from comparing my experience with over 3,000 hours streaming on Twitch and now launching this Browns podcast for not even a month now. When we started doing this podcast, we felt alone on an island in the middle of nowhere. I don't think people do it maliciously. I don't think people did it on purpose. I don't even think people really cared, and that's fine. But it was not a welcoming feeling at all.
Hi, yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
again, and Mel, you were one of, I'm trying to think of a handful of people. I mean, it's not like no one was like anyone was welcoming. You're at the top of the list. You were extremely welcoming to us once you got to know us a little bit. Jerry Smith of Dread, very, very nice to us on Twitter.
And of course, Riley and Nick.
Yeah, and obviously Riley and Nick from Slash and Cast. If we're wrong for feeling that way, that's fine, but it's just how we felt, and it's how we still feel. Our experience out of the gates, and honestly, for the first almost year doing it, and even still now, we just kind of feel shunned to the side. We feel, and we put a lot of work into this. And I know no one knows who we are, and they've never heard of us, but we have fun on this show. I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to films and filmmaking.
You definitely know how to pronounce the last names.
I do. That is a bonus. So I don't know, Mel, when you started Horror Geek Life, does any of these stories that I'm telling you bring back memories, or can you relate to anything that I'm saying right now?
Yep, sure can. Yeah. I think one thing is that there's a lot of different content out there, and, there's a lot of publications, there's a lot of podcasts. And I think one thing is you have to prove that you're going to stick around, right?
Right.
Because I can think of so many, of us who just kind of went, okay, well, I'm not getting my readership or my view or my listen. So yeah, I quit. That's pretty common. And then I know for me, yes, I had a lot of actually one of my former website owners that I worked for told me that I wasn't going to make it. I mean, he just outright told me, don't do this because you're not going to make it. And I'm like, well, thanks. And then I outgrew him, so it was okay, but
the ultimate flex right there.
But no, it's just, it's not as welcoming as what you would think. And even other publications, for me, I mean, I've never talked to them on professional, basis or anything like that. So I honestly, how I've adapted for myself and how I've protected myself is I've just kind of gotten into my own bubble. And I'm really bad about it. And I feel like content is king. And you just keep putting out that content and you're going to get, what you're looking for, I guess. So,
and I don't want to,
yeah, we're not saying this. We don't want to unite hands with every single content creator and all fucking sing Kumbaya.
No. And I'm not sitting here and looking for sympathy. That's just the reality of the fucking world. I mean, this is a problem outside of horror, but it also it's all in all facets of life, but it just so happens it takes place in the horror world as well. And that kind of comes back to what he said. To me, this is my interpretation of the horror world, and my peers. I consider you my peer. We're horror content creators. Everyone is just a bunch of individuals, and you're over there, you're over here, you're down there, you're way up there, you stay down there, you stay over there, and we'll all be good. Is that gatekeeping?
I don't think that's gatekeeping in the sense that people think of gatekeeping. I'm trying to think of what
would you call that?
I mean, cliquey.
Yeah,
it's very cliquey, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I guess, and I think we can all probably be, called that at one, I'm sure me too, because I start to get in my bubble and I don't really,
absolutely,
reach out the way I should. But yeah, I can see cliquey being the right word for it.
It's strange because I'm such an extrovert and I'm such just a people person. It's just out of the ordinary for me, period, just from a daily life basis. It's not really what I'm accustomed to. And we Brian and I never let it bother us. Like it really is what it is. We just enjoy doing the show and having fun. And we started this podcast about a year and a half ago now from bare bones, just absolutely, not knowing a soul in the horror world, not knowing anyone. And the fact that we've grown to an audience over 100 people, like, you guys fucking rock, man, listeners. You guys are the fucking real MVPs, for real.
True story.
Seriously. Like, that's when we say we appreciate you guys, it's stories like that, because we've never talked about that on the podcast before, Brian, about how hard it was for us when we started off and how just like alone on an island we felt. Yeah. And it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really have anything to do with the listenership or how many listens we get. It was just the vibe I got from the rest of the horror world, whether that's consumers or our peers. It was just something I wasn't prepared for that. I was not prepared for it. It was surprising. I was, because it's like we said, it's the horror community. We love each other. We're the mutant fam. We love it. Da, 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 da. Yes, it all sounds good. It sounds great, but it ain't the reality. It's not. It's not. Sadly.
I will say what made me notice, you guys is I mean, y'all are just really creative. Number one, you always have content. I mean, you always have, questions and scenarios, and you just always, I guess, still reach out to the community. So of course I didn't know that y'all were facing this in the beginning. I think maybe I've met y'all a year now, maybe?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, roughly. Sounds about right.
But I didn't realize it because honestly, most people, they stop. when they don't get the exact response that they get back. And I see it with writers. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can think of so many that, people start a publication, they go, well, no one's reading. Okay, well, it's been a month, keep writing. But yeah, so I didn't notice because you just kept going. So
I'm so glad we had Mel on here because that makes so much sense what you just said.
Yeah. Stopping's just not in my blood though. I did music for 20 years. I played the number of times I played to the other bands and their girlfriends, just like that line on the movie Airheads. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I did that shit for 20 years.
We're not going anywhere. Like, here's the thing. Movies have been a part of my life. And that's the thing, too. And I feel like a lot of the horror audience and our peers, they don't know us. And I understand that. But, like, here's a little thing about me. I mean, like, I was born in 81. I'll be 40 this year. My dad opened up a mom and pop video store in 1985. He had them from my age 4 till I graduated high school. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 20. I went to film acting school. He had the video stores all through that. So I was raised in a video store. And then I went to acting school and all that. So movies and film have been just such an integral part of my life forever. They really have. I feel like is that something kind of similar to you, Mel? Has it always been a big part of your life, even as a kid?
Yeah. I was a super lonely kid. I mean, I had brothers and a sister, but I was super lonely. And so, growing up in the 80s, your parents didn't care. It's very much like the movies where your parents just don't care what you do or what you watch. I mean, it just didn't matter. So, but we did have a local video store and I remember getting Redneck Zombies when I was way too young and
fuck yes
dolls and, a lot of full moon features, but yeah. And so I turned to movies and out of all of the genres, I think, I gravitated towards horror because it felt like something special. Just like most of us did, who kind of felt like outsiders and you watch it and you see yourself in the movie. And so I did that. And then I was just a movie-holic and growing up. And so, I mean, I didn't think that I would be doing what I do today. This isn't what my past was leading me to as far as jobs go, but I'm glad that I'm here now. So
I am glad you're here too.
Same.
Thank y'all. Back at you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
everybody's path to horror is so different.
It truly is.
That's why I can't understand somebody saying something like,
right.
If you're not a fan of horror, if you've never seen Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah. That's the strangest thing to say something like that to somebody. It's so weird.
It's bizarre.
Have you seen Cannibal Holocaust, Andy?
No, I haven't.
Me neither.
No.
I've seen it skipped over. I have to skip over the animal.
I would imagine. Scenes. Yeah, I don't think I could watch it. I don't think I could watch that.
I skipped Joe Bob that night because they watched it on Joe Bob.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
a couple seasons ago. I guess I've been gatekeeping Cannibal Holocaust for the rest of my life.
It just doesn't sound like it'd be my scene, It really doesn't.
Me neither.
Doesn't sound like it'd be my scene.
Me neither.
What's really funny is, Brian, kind of a point that you just made is it's really funny when someone gatekeeps with a really extreme movie. It's not like Poltergeist. It's not, TCM. It's like Serbian film. You haven't seen Serbian film. You're not a horror fan.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, come on. I've seen that. Okay, don't.
Yeah, see, I've never seen it. I've read about it, and I was like, "Yeah, that doesn't sound like something I want to watch."
I know exactly what you're talking about. No, not really any desire. Does that make me any less of a horror fan? Definitely
not. No.
Makes you more of a human being, as far as
It's really funny though when people do that with some really rough movies, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'd watch that and Salo back to back for an article.
Okay.
It was the hardest day I've ever had. It was awful. It was awful. So I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I'd say I read about it. I'm just like, no, thanks. I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah, this talk has made me realize the horror world's really fucking bizarre.
You think?
Well, it's so strange to me. Like I'm telling you guys, if you guys haven't checked out any Dread Central's live discussions they do, and they keep the VOD, the video on demand, on their YouTube channel, they're fucking great. But like, why aren't the horror peeps watching? I mean, maybe you could say, well, maybe they're not promoting it as well. They're not getting it out there as well. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. But all I do know is digital media and horror is pretty much non-existent to me. As far I'm talking about like content creation and horror, it's outside of podcast, like video media, other than actually making the movies, which I get. A lot of these publications are starting to fund movies and make movies, and I get that. That's super fucking hella cool, actually. And like you said, it does open the door to a lot of independent filmmakers. So that I am on board with. But I would like to see the big publications at the big table to start. I would like to see them expand video and digital media across the board on all platforms. Whether that's, I mean, you could even go live on Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and all of it. Like there's just, to me, there's a market there that's not being tapped. Unless I could be completely wrong. You would know more than me, Mel. Is there a market out there that's not being tapped?
You know, I have looked into all of these things, obviously, as I've grown. You know, we always kind of look at different things that we can put into practice. And, you know, and I had to say, you know, there are some ideas that I've considered, but when it comes to getting into things like YouTube and Twitch, I guess, you know, I've kind of felt like if you weren't there before, it's just kind of hard to get into now and to get those people, you know, those eyes on you, because there's already so much. But I also kind of feel like people don't care. Like, but we cover more than horror, and so that's why I want to look into it, is because you know we do kind of cater to other audiences, you know. But I haven't felt like there's been a call for that from horror fans. Maybe there has, and it's been ignored and just hasn't been said. But I don't know.
I don't know. Let me paint.
I'll say real quick though, there is a lot of truth to that. If you weren't there when it started, it's almost pointless to try to show up now, kind of mentality. Because starting a YouTube channel right now, holy shit, that's a grind, man. Like, because you know, it took us a while to get to the 100 subscribers that we got. And of course, we got to do that 100 more times just to even be considered for, or 1,000 times, I think. To be considered for monetization, which is not the end goal. Honestly, it's not. But I'm like, well, I want to try to expand on the YouTube channel, but I'm afraid to start putting shit on the YouTube channel for fear that my work schedule will pick up and I just won't have time to put shit on there anymore. Because it's just that once you start doing something, you've got to kind of try and keep going at it, because you know, commitment is huge. Consistency is the biggest thing about content creation and putting your shit out there. You got to keep doing it, and I don't want to start doing something and then be like, oh shit, man, I got to do like a mandatory Saturday 6 weeks in a row or something like that. So yeah, it's just scary. It's scary to do that.
I would have to get someone to do that for me, because I mean, you know, with, you know, the readership, that's what pays for our site, you know, is people coming and reading our articles, and we have a lot of return and things like that. So, you know, it would have to be, and maybe that's their thing too. Maybe it's just a capacity, you know, at capacity.
Sure.
I don't know. Or we're just dinosaurs, like I said.
Yeah, you guys are making me starting to feel bad now.
Have a stack of VHS next to, I mean, come on.
You know what? I will say, I got rid of all my VHS. I've got rid of all.
I'm about to clean through mine.
It was an easy thing for me because my VHS player finally died, and I was like, well, I'm not going to buy another VHS player because I'm just not going to do that. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to start converting everything over to DVDs. Now, I will not convert everything from DVD to Blu-ray because then I will have to convert everything from Blu-ray to 4K. And eventually I'm going to have to convert everything from 4K to 8K or 32K, where the fucking next one is. And I'm just not doing all of that anymore. So no, but I did get rid of all my VHS. It was kind of sad. It's
a sad day.
I had 7 VHS copies of Halloween. I had 7
3
different ones. Yeah, I have now though. I've got 4 different copies of Halloween on Blu-ray /DVD.
Yeah,
they all got different covers and different shit. So
we're so weird.
Gotta get all of them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here making it sound like, oh yeah, guys, that Twitch and YouTube shit's very easy. Yeah, I kind of sound like a dummy now. Not really.
Well, it's not that it's not easy or hard or anything. It's just that you've got.
I have experience.
Your Twitch channel.
I have experience.
Committed, yeah.
Yes. I mean, essentially, I streamed 3,300 hours in 2 years, and I started that channel from bare bones, just like we kind of started this podcast. And my thing is, I know that a brand can do well. I know a brand can do well on Twitch. I know it can if done right. I just know it because if I could do some of the things that I accomplished on Twitch, then there's no doubt in my mind that these horror publications. I mean, let me paint this picture for you. I mean, granted, I'm making this sound easier as hell. Like, oh yeah, do that, get that. Yeah, sorry if I sound that way, but I'm trying to advance the genre. I'm trying to advance everything. Here, let me paint this, Brian. Would you watch Bloody Disgusting Twitch channel, 7:00 on a Wednesday, Scream panel? They got the whole Scream fucking.
Would I watch that?
Would you watch that?
Fuck yeah, I'd watch that.
Do you think horror fans would watch that?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
If they knew about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, have you checked Fangoria? Because Fangoria has been doing a lot of video. Since they've done the relaunch, after they lost their parent company, last year they shut down. But now that they've done a relaunch, they've done a lot of video. And it could be also that they're putting their videos straight onto social media and bypassing YouTube sometimes. Because
so they just use like Facebook probably then.
Yeah. I mean, if we did video, I would almost put it directly on Facebook than messing with YouTube at this point.
Yeah.
So it helps you grow your Facebook.
You could even put it, I'll say if you were going to do Twitch, you'd have to just stream everything just to Twitch because of their TOS. But here's the thing. That's the other thing that I know exists in Twitch. Money. Revenue.
It's easier to make money on Twitch than it is on YouTube.
Oh, without a doubt. It's not even close. I don't know. I think, honestly, I feel like Twitch has kind of gotten gate-kept in an essence, too, and put a box over it that it's just a gaming platform. That's not all Twitch is. Twitch is cooking, workout videos.
I watch every Sunday morning.
Dolphin outfits dancing in a hula hoop, Brian.
And it is every Sunday morning.
Everything.
Yeah, every Sunday morning I watch a guy named Dan Drumstone. The channel's name is Dan Drumstone. Every Sunday morning I watch this guy. He's a drummer. All he does is he plays songs and then he plays the drums to the song. And it's like the most super awesome, chill Sunday morning drinking coffee vibes. I've discovered so many awesome bands watching this guy, and he's super, super likable, super personable, and it's cool as hell. And he doesn't play one video game.
No,
like not one video game.
Just chatting streams are hella popular on Twitch.
That's what I would like to do.
I read this whole. I wish I wouldn't have. I read this whole thread. It was actually from a Twitcher too, a popular Twitcher, hating on how it's turning into like a mini OnlyFans content, with the ladies. And
Dead in Santa Carla OnlyFans coming soon.
Yeah. and the just chatting, and I guess a lot of people are really hating it because it's taking viewership away from There's always going to be everybody just hates everything.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
See that's them trying to gatekeep other people on Twitch. That's what that is. That's gatekeeping in itself right there. No, I am totally fine, and I think it's awesome that Twitch is expanding like that because it should be. Because it shouldn't just be. It's not just gaming, guys. It's not. It's really, truly not.
Are you trying to get a job, Andy?
Am I trying to get a job?
I mean, I'm in. Hey, and for the record, you were talking about your Browns podcast. Yes. I did offer to be your co-host. If you remember, I said, Andy, I hate sports. I know nothing about it. I don't even know who the Browns are, but I will do it for you.
Yes.
That's
so
I laughed very hard when I read that tweet.
You were very nice. He rejected me with a black heart. So it was nice.
That's too funny.
Oh, how dare I gatekeep non-Cleveland Browns fans?
Right?
Co-host in my podcast. How dare I? Yeah. This is such an interesting topic. It really is. Because I feel like a lot of people don't even realize it's happening half the time. Because it's, I just feel like the horror world has just been conditioned over decades to just feel like outsiders and just go with the time. Like I do feel, honestly, no bullshit. I feel like the horror world is still stuck in 1989. That's how it feels. I mean, like
we are
100%. And I just would like to see some advancements in that. Just let's move forward a little bit. There's tons of technology. There's tons of ways to get your material out there. There's tons of ways to get your brand out there. There's tons of ways to bring horror consumers in and give them something to enjoy. There's tons of stuff out there. I just hope we see advancements in the next 10 years. I would surely hope so.
I'm sure.
I hope so. Maybe. It's about time. Yeah, maybe. I know. Brian, doesn't it not feel like the horror genre is still stuck in 1989?
Yes,
it's fucking bizarre.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
it's fucking weird, dude. It's so strange to me. But hey, I don't know.
Well, we've been told we're weird. We've been told we're creepy. We've been told we're odd for my whole life.
Right?
And I mean, I grew up in an even smaller town than UML, and 2,000 people, and
3,000 in my hometown, baby.
Yeah, so we all kind of experienced a similar walk, through for our youth. So it's you get told that over and over again. It probably makes you put some walls up. So.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
My therapist tells me that all the time. So
perfect.
So
perfect. Yeah, I don't know. You guys think this was a good talk? You think we covered everything? Is there anything else that you guys, as far as gatekeeping and horror goes, that you wanted to get off your chest?
Everybody needs to find Vince Clorthos. They need to find Vince Clorthos, and they need to reunite Vince and Zool.
Yes.
Open the gates.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, and if you walk through the gates, Tim Capella is going to be there.
Tim Capella is going to be there playing sexy saxophone music.
Yes, you don't have to be in Santa Carla to see that. He's everywhere.
Don't look directly at him because he will blind you because he's so shiny.
He's very shiny and sweaty. He is. He is.
I will add another form of gatekeeping that just you kind of reminded me of is being stuck in 1989 is how reluctant people are to be okay with modern horror.
Oh yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I can't believe we didn't bring that up, Andy.
I mean, if we post about, some of the, Hereditary, if we post about those films that were really good, but they're modern.
Right.
There are a lot of people who love them, but there's always, always, always those people who have to chime in comments and be like, this sucks. I can't believe how bad this is, and just on and on and on. And it's like, really? Okay, well, what's your favorite movie? And then they name a movie that I would love to, okay, Friday 13th Part 6. Okay, I love Friday 13th. But if you're telling me that technically Friday 13th Part 6 is a better film than Hereditary,
I don't even think Tom would disagree.
McLaughlin. Yeah, I don't think
Tom
McLaughlin Hereditary is a way better film than what I fucking
You know what's the irony of all that too? I've seen that too, Mel. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I see that shit all the time. And the irony is, in my very, very, very humbled opinion, I think the last 10 years of horror have been some of the best.
Oh, there's been some
so
great,
good.
Great,
the last
so
10
good.
years of horror have been some of the best 10 years of horror in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was around from 81 to 91, and there was some great horror films in that era. But the last 10 years, everything from James Wan stuff to Lee Wanell stuff to Jordan Peele stuff.
Mikey
Flanagan.
Oh, he's my favorite.
So
Yeah,
good.
I mean, it's
so good.
Yeah.
The resurgence of this group of younger horror filmmakers is fucking cool. Yeah, I hate when I see shit like that too. We used to have this dingleberry that would reply to some of our tweets on the Dead and SC podcast Twitter all the time with, I don't watch any of the new stuff. I only watch the old stuff. And I used to just ignore it. And then like someone would comment, reply and go, yeah, I love that fucking movie. Yes, yes. They said, no. How could you like that? Blah, blah, blah. And I replied with, look, man, we like what we like and that's okay. And that, that son of a bitch blocked us. But I you believe that? That's all I said.
You never told me this story. That's
this is months ago. This son of a bitch blocked us after I said that.
I can't believe you were so nice because Andy, I've seen you throw hands on Twitter.
Oh, I will too. I'll throw down.
Oh my god!
I've seen it.
I try.
It's hilarious.
I keep the dead and say I throw down on my personal Twitter a lot, but I try to keep Dead and SC podcast professional as much as I can.
That's crazy. That's so funny. You never told me that story.
Yeah,
you said we like what we like, and that's okay. And got the big block.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think he responded with, yeah, but those movies aren't good. Only the 80s stuff is good or some bullshit. And then block. I'm like, okay, cool.
I mean, I will say that the 80s is my favorite time period for horror, but my favorite. Not saying that's when, the best of the best, but that is definitely my favorite. And there was so much that they did right, but I'm willing to also say that some good movies were also made after 1990.
Oh,
maybe.
Maybe there might have been a few.
Jeez.
I think those last 10 years it's been really strong. Probably.
Gosh, dude. I mean,
I think it's stronger. It's stronger than the 90s decade, because the 90s decade was filled with those awesome direct-to-video dimension horror films that you would find at Blockbuster only. And stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first half in the 90s, we've talked about that before. That was a rough period for horror. It was rough. I mean, you had your Pumpkinhead 2s and your House 4s and I remember the first time I saw House 4, I go, where was the third one? Little I know that it was some other title overseas.
The horror show.
Yeah, the horror show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kane Hodder is a pizza fucking monster in House
part 4.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We actually, today's his birthday. Kane Hodder.
It is. Happy birthday, Kane.
Yeah. Happy birthday,
and so
Kane.
he's definitely listening. Happy birthday. We love you. No, but, and we did an article about, the best roles that he did other than Jason Voorhees. And of course, pizza. Feeding pizzas on there. So, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Another Sean Cunningham production.
Yes.
I tell you,
for what it's worth.
I'll tell you, if I'm a gatekeeper of anything, it's a gatekeeper of Sean Cunningham. This was therapeutic. I feel like
this was therapeutic.
And do you see why now?
Stuff out.
And you see why I really want to Mel on for this show too.
100%, yeah.
Because her perspective, I thought, was just perfect for this, and I thank you so much, Mel. This was fun.
No, seriously, I've been looking forward to this. Actually, 2 days ago, I got my days mixed up and I thought we were doing it yesterday and I was real excited when I woke up. And then I'm like, it's not. It's not today, it's tomorrow. Okay.
Well, we need to have you on for
a movie discussion.
Fun movie discussion soon.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm down. It has to be an 80s film, though. I don't talk new horror.
Love it. Oh my god.
No, I'm totally down. I am big fans of you guys, and I now even have the shirt to prove it. I put your podcast on. You're very easy to listen to, and so I put it on sometimes just kind of as background noise as I work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, friend.
No, but seriously, thank you. I'm happy to be on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, won't be the last time.
Yeah, where can our listeners find you?
They can find Horror Geek Life at horrorgeeklife.com. And then we're on every social media platform. Don't look at our YouTube, but we're at every social media platform. I am on Twitter and Instagram. My personal is at Horror Geek Mel. I am not professional on my personal account.
Nor am I.
So beware. but yeah, so Horror Geek Mel and Horror Geek Life.
Awesome. We will put links in the description to all those fantastic sites. Put that YouTube right at the top for our listeners. What is the next movie? What is the next horror assignment?
The following Monday after this drops, we'll be talking because this is Revenge of the Remakes month.
Revenge of the Remake.
Let's go. Amityville Horror remake. We're going to be talking about. Yeah. So we're going to be joined by Bailey from We Came to Meet This.
That's right. Our boy Bailey talking about that. The Ryan Reynolds. The Ryan Reynolds Amityville Horror remake. I haven't seen that in a long time. I'm looking forward to watching
neither.
it.
And
I've only seen it once.
And I'm looking forward to revisit. I think I've seen it twice. You know me, not like here's an unpopular opinion, Mel. I've always felt that the original Amityville Horror was severely overrated. I'm not a big fan.
I have to agree. I have to completely agree. Mm-hmm. However, I have the entire box set and that they just released. It's beautiful.
That's like 37 movies.
And and I have the complete VHS, which was hard because Dollhouse was just not easy to track down. So I find that those VHS will be staying with me. I have grown to love the franchise over the last few years, but also I recognize it's shit. And but it's fun. Well, okay, part two is the only one I cannot say that with because there's so much child abuse and it's mean, it's a very mean film, but the rest of them, I mean, part 4, oh my gosh.
It's
amazing.
Is that one about, it's about time? Yeah, that's what I thought so. Yeah.
And they fucking end the film looking at the camera going, it's about time. That's amazing. I mean.
Did they smile? Did they do like the it's about time and then just the shit grin?
Yes. And I mean, to have a franchise where every single movie is like, okay, what piece of furniture left the house in a yard sale now? Oh, it's a lamp. It's literally a fucking lamp that got sold in a yard sale. This time it's a mirror. This time it's so it's just like different pieces.
Wasn't a clock?
That one was a clock.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sure was.
And when they put the clock on the mantle, it buried like into the house and like changed the whole structure and then made like time travel and I don't know. And then another one was a lamp and another one was a mirror. So I mean, it's just.
I feel like this is where the inspiration for the Friday the 13th series came from.
There you go. Yeah, that could have been Amityville. Easy.
Yeah. Okay. I've only seen I think parts 1, 2, and 3. I think that's it.
If you guys did know, Amityville 1992, It's About Time. It came out in 1992. If you guys were wondering.
Okay.
And it's literally the title of it.
It is.
It is.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like. Look, man. I enjoy even movies that I don't necessarily think are great. I still enjoy them. I like. I just always like. I don't know. Like the Amityville Horror franchises.
honestly, I enjoy watching the sequels probably more just because it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, they're kind of. I get them. Well, I mean, I remember it's a little bit of 2 and 3, and they're kind of bonkers a little.
Oh, dude, 3D is terrible, but man, like get
awful.
Yeah, have a few beers, get blazed, and fucking enjoy.
I mean, and I'm someone. I have a poster on my wall next to me right now of Microwave Massacre. So I mean,
I have never seen that.
You have to, okay. So it stars the man who voiced the original Frosty the Snowman back in the 60s. It was his last role.
Shit.
Oh wow!
And his wife is this horrible cook, and she buys this giant microwave, and he starts killing everybody. But there's lots of boobs and really weird fake food and cannibalism and. It's amazing. So it's on Prime. That one's on
Microwave
Prime.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching that tonight.
So,
absolutely.
So good. And It's About Time is on Shudder.
Perfect. Good deal.
So, double feature.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, I love it. So
yes.
Homework for next week: the Amityville remake, guys.
Starring
well, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. That was yeah. Well, this was super fun talk. This was this was a good time. Thank you so much, Mel, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll definitely have you on again. With all that being said, everybody, we'll catch y'all on the next episode.